Nicky here and Fran. Many of you have met Nicky and Fran on our knit-alongs, and we thought we'd get together because we're always discussing what patterns we like, what we're thinking of knitting, what we like about construction. So we thought instead of talking about it just between us, we'd share our discussion with you. So I've asked Fran and Nicky to sort of think about what patterns are really sort of floating their boat at the moment, what's interesting them, why they're interested in them, and so we're going to have a chat. So I thought we'd start off with, are there any sort of particular jumpers or sweaters that are really sort of singing to you at the moment, and if so, why?
Well, there's one that I absolutely love at the moment. It's not on general release, it's part of a book by Rauma Yarn, and it's only in Norwegian, but it's called, so apart from all those kind of difficult but ifs and buts.
Do you speak Norwegian?
No, but it's Google Translate.
Does that work for patterns? Have you
Yes,
tried
I've heard
before?
people say that it does, and I think also this is a colour work jumper, so it'll be charts.
Yeah.
So and it's a very simple shape. It's essentially a square. So I don't think it will be difficult. I don't think there are a lot of difficult increases and decreases. Anyway, it's called the Nordic, I've forgotten what it's called, Nordic Mix Sweater, and it's everywhere over Instagram at the moment. And it looks almost like patchwork, or almost like a jumper that's been extensively decoratively darned. It's lots of different colour work patterns, but so it's a bit like a patchwork, but instead of being regular squares, they kind of blend in irregular shapes, which is, and people have done it in the most amazing colourways as well. The original, I think, is in blue and white, but there's been some really wacky colour combinations like neon pink and orange, and or classic like black and white, and it looks so very different. The vibe of it is very different, and I think it'd be one of the, it's a worsted weight sweater, and I think it's one of those ones that you just grab and throw on. I think it would be, I think it'd just be one of those things.
Almost, and if it's worsted weight and colour work, it's probably like almost like an outdoor sweater.
Yeah, I
isn't
think
it?
so. Yeah. I think you'd probably wear like a tee underneath it, and then you'd wear it almost like a jacket to go out. Or if you were really saving on the heating, you'd turn the heating off and then just wear a sweater.
Topical here in the UK. Cost of energy. What about you, Nicky? What's sort of floating your boat at the moment?
Well, I was looking at these two new patterns, the Poline pullover and I think
Polina and the Pavok.
Yes.
Yeah, pullover by Petite Lutzak.
Yes, I think they're both beautiful. They're both top down. She released two jumper patterns within 2 weeks.
She did.
I thought was, yes.
Because the Polina is on my list too.
Yes.
I really like that one.
Yes.
Again, that's been really popular.
It has,
I've seen a lot.
Yeah.
And again, quite a lot of different versions. People knitting it either really cropped or actually knitting it a bit more oversized and full, and I think it looks lovely either way.
But then the funny thing was, I already have two other jumpers
Of hers.
Yes, in my queue. So I think I'd probably knit those, and that was in your list as well.
So the Bifurca vest, both Nicky and I, we've obviously got similar tastes when we were looking at it. That's been in my to-do list for ages, and I'm thinking now spring's coming.
Yeah.
Although you did say she's just released it, a version with sleeves.
Yes, there's a long sleeve version as well as a jumper version. But then if I was going to make that, I'd probably make the Elna jumper by
Eleanor, yeah.
Which I'm just that's been in my queue for years.
So that's by Junko Okamoto.
Yeah.
Very similar to look at.
Yeah, similar construction. I think I'm just very intrigued by the construction method of that. I think
it's a rectangle, isn't it?
I believe so. I don't have the pattern, but I believe that you start with a rectangle,
which is the colour work. But don't worry, I'm going to put images up of everybody's choices. But so it's a colour work sort of panel here, and then you knit that first as a rectangle, and then you knit off of it.
Yes, I believe so. Well, yes, and then pick up stitches down the side to fill in the side, and
What colours would you think of doing it in?
There's loads of gorgeous colours. Whenever I see anything, I always love the original colours.
I do like the cream and the red, the dark red.
Yes, I think I probably would go for a sort of creamy, lighter background, and then I've seen it black and white. I've seen it with the darker colour as the main colour. Yeah, there's lots of.
The red's nice though.
Yeah,
I like the
red.
It's a flashing colour, I think, for most people. That dull kind of maroony red suits most
So
skin
what
types.
weight of yarn is the Eleanor?
I think it's a worsted.
It's a worsted, and the Bifurca vest is a DK, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bit more fitted, the Bifurca vest, I think,
yeah.
than the Eleanor is. So if you are looking at both patterns, it depends what sort of style you like, really.
Oh yeah, the Eleanor is very oversized.
Oversized, baggy.
Yes, and I'm not sure that, I think that might be the smallest size. I don't think that it comes in a vast range of sizes. I think that designer's fit tends to be very oversized.
Have you tried one of the patterns by
No,
it's Tetty's Garden
I
she appears
haven't.
as, doesn't
Yeah,
she?
no, I haven't.
I'm just wondering about, how well written they are in terms of, I've not seen any comments anywhere about how well written they are.
I think she has a doctorate, I believe. I'm not saying, but transferable skills.
I do
logical
love
mind.
the paddlist blouse that you've
That
got
is
there,
very pretty,
and I know
isn't it?
Noosh in the shop is going to knit that one.
Yeah,
She's
it's
got that
lovely.
on her.
Yes.
You'd have to, the pedalist blouse, you'd have to have quite a flowy yarn for that, wouldn't you? Because otherwise,
that balloony sleeve.
because otherwise the sleeves would kind of stick out. But something with some lovely drape to it, that would be.
I love the
beautiful.
sweater. It wouldn't suit me style-wise.
No, I don't think it would me.
I know what you mean, because I love it, but I do think, would it fit in my wardrobe? Would I wear it?
I think it would suit you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
You're tall and you're sort of willowy, so I think it would.
The extra
look
width from the sleeves would look good. Whilst I'd start to look like I was kind of going on.
Yeah, I don't think it would quite look like that.
No, I think I'd have to do it in very diaphanous kind of sleeves and kid silk mohair or something, which would be something.
That would be nice. It would be lovely as a sample for the shop.
Yeah. I've just seen what's on your screen, and that's on my list too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's on in my queue. Yeah.
So is this another sweater?
It's another sweater.
Which one's that?
The Alyssum Sweater. It's been out since this time last year.
Is it the big flowers?
Big flowers all over. So
it's on in my to-do list.
Yeah.
Now, would you make the Alyssum, or would you? I think the other one's called the drawing sweater.
Yeah,
very similar.
Which one would you go for?
I don't know. I like the way that this is.
And who's the designer?
All over. This is Tomomi Yoshimoto.
So a lot of Japanese designers.
Yeah, I do love the Japanese.
Yeah.
But again, going back to body type, I know on the whole yoke sweaters don't look great on me. I fall in love with them as patterns, and then I make it, put it on, and kind of go, yeah, it still doesn't suit me. What I should be making is a light, knitting everything in fingering weight with a V. And that would probably be
raglan suits me.
Raglan suits me,
Raglan or a
satin,
satin,
or shadow, or shadow shoulder, a saddle shoulder.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yokes, I love them, and so many patterns have those yokes, haven't they? But actually, when I put them on, particularly if you've got bigger boobs, they just
yeah. I was just thinking with this one, if you made it in finger weight rather than DK, so you'd have to go for morph the sizes a bit. That would be, and because the colour works completely over it, but in a kind of random fashion, that might be more flattering. I think DK colour work is stiffer, and I'm just wondering whether if you kind of played around with the pattern a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not great with big prints. I love it. I love looking at it, and I keep going back to it. But I know if I was to wear it, big prints dominate me. Yeah. If it's all over like that, and yeah, I know I wouldn't wear it. Again, great for the shop in the window. Yeah. But
no, I might play around with the idea and do it in a lighter weight and see, because I do love it. I think it's the randomness of the pattern that I like, that it's not like so many, most yoke sweaters or colourwork sweaters, it's a very, you know, repeated pattern, exactly the same everywhere.
Yeah, that
Whilst
isn't.
this one does have a kind of flow and a slight randomness to it.
It reminds me of a tapestry.
Yes, or yeah.
You know, when you do those tapestry cushions and things
Yes.
where you're pulling the thread through and it's
I
like
have,
that.
I have the drawing sweater in my queue.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
can't
similar,
decide-
but that's
Yeah.
that's just up here, isn't
I
it?
think this one, it was hard to
I think that's heavier as well. That's
Yeah.
worsted weight as well, isn't it?
I think the designer couldn't it was difficult to make more sizes because the pattern is all over because of the way it was
do you
done.
think the Japanese designers though don't necessarily make the extended size
No.
range because of, it's like
But-
some of the Danish designers? I find that their pattern sizing stops at a certain point and doesn't cater for perhaps
Yeah.
more generous
I mean,
figures.
definitely
curvier
in
figures.
Japan. I mean, I lived in Japan for a while, and yeah, trying to find any clothes that would fit, even though I was a lot slimmer than I am now, going into a store and trying to find clothes that fit you would be hard because they are much more petite. So obviously their designers are going to be designing primarily for the Japanese
I think the
market.
French are the same as well. French designers are
Yeah.
sort of, again, sort of they're designing for you know, the people that live in their countries predominantly, aren't they?
Yeah.
And potentially not considering the
The slightly larger ladies elsewhere.
that's like so I had on my list I had the Polina and the Bifurca by Petite Knits. But the other one I sort of keep coming back to, but it's just the construction that's stopping me doing it, is the Porcelain Sweater by
It is
Lynette.
beautiful.
Oh,
It's
stunning.
cream with and again I'll put up a picture up, but it's got bands of colour work, and the
Oh, I
original
know,
is
yeah.
done in and
Yeah.
I think she's got a terracotta sweater, which is
Yeah.
a similar construction.
Yeah.
The thing I don't like about it is its drop sleeves.
Yeah,
And
I'm
I'm
wild
not a
about-
lover of drop sleeves.
Again, I think if you're relatively proportionally large busted, drop sleeves just come at your widest part.
And they make you look wider.
They do make you look wider.
Yeah, I don't like the finish you get on them either.
There's always that really irritating pull, isn't it?
Yeah,
that
there's
little V.
no matter how
Yeah,
well you
yeah,
block it, how well you
Yeah.
sort of pick it up, you've always got that because the stitches are going one way and then they're going the other.
Yeah, and the seam on the shoulder is always going to pull the centre of the drop sleeve
Yeah.
up unless you've done a construction on the shoulder where there isn't a string.
Yeah, I do keep looking at it thinking, could you play with that in any way
Yeah.
and change it? But do I love it enough to go to the effort of doing that when there's so many other patterns out there
Yeah,
that
I think that.
I love?
Yeah,
The other ones, it's a cardigan and there's a sweater version, is the Garden Cardi by Anchor Strick, or the Garden Sweater. Don't know if you've seen it. It's you can pull it up on here, and again I will pop a picture up. But what I quite like, particularly the cardigan, the back of the construction, you start the V at the back,
Oh yes, I saw this.
so
yes.
like a crossover, and then it comes down. And I think there's been a couple of designers that have used that technique, but it just looks like it falls nicely.
Okay. Yeah.
And cardigans is so useful in the winter, in the summer as
Oh,
you go
yeah.
into spring.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's that sort of bit at the back that I like,
Yeah.
and I'm sort of thinking I think it's a double knit weight, but she holds two yarns together. And I'm thinking that if you had a nice full
Oh,
ply
that
with
is
a
pretty, isn't it?
fluff,
Yeah,
Very
there's a
classic.
there's a Libby Johnson one that has a similar construction with that little V,
Yeah.
and that's made in meadow.
and I think Isabel Kramer does one
Yeah.
that's got a similar V at the back. I just think that construction's quite interesting because I think from seeing it, you start from here as well, sort of
Yes.
to actually knit it. So
Because I've made Huia, which is a similar construction, and yeah, it's not quite such a
distinct V.
distinct V. It's not quite as pretty, I don't think, but it's using that lovely meadow, and then when you see her wearing her version of it, it's got this lovely flow to it.
Oh, yeah, it would do with meadow, which is
Yeah,
by the
it's
Fibre Company,
stunning.
which is a gorgeous yarn. I do love shawls in meadow as well because it's sort
It's
of
a
light and
beautiful
drapey.
drape, isn't it?
Yeah, so those are the sorts of ones that are sort of calling to me at the moment.
Yeah.
What about any shawls or anything? Is there any shawls that are on your list? I know we're going towards, in the UK, we're going towards spring. If you looked outside today, you wouldn't think so. And the forecast tomorrow is for torrential rain.
Yeah, torrential rain tomorrow. The one that's really caught my eye came out a few months ago now is the Photography Shawl by Kristina Vilimaite. And it's kind of 3D construction. It's pleats that kind of it almost looks like it's got wires in it.
It looks like origami almost, doesn't it? The way it's sort of pleated.
Yeah, so I think there's obviously she plays around with the tension between stocking stitch and garter and maybe a twist. I haven't made it yet, so I haven't read through the pattern. But it gives this lovely pleated, as you say, origami look to it. And I think with...
You've mentioned it a few times,
yeah,
so I know
I think I
it's
have
on
to
the list.
make it now. And I don't think you'd want to use a very variegated yarn, but
No.
I think something maybe with a kind of speckle in it might be quite nice.
Do you think you need quite a sticky yarn for it to get that sort of precision of the creases rather
what
than
does she
anything
say?
with merino in it? Because merino would make it softer and I
Yeah.
suppose it depends on what the finished...
Yeah, she made it in Harrisville Design Daylight, which is a DK, and it's 100% wool, Cormo woolen spun, so quite a fluffy wool.
but not that drapey.
Not that drapey, I don't think. No.
That's what I was wondering, whether it's sort of, you need a yarn with like a bit of
I
structure
think
in
I
there.
think probably not a superwash. I think that might be too slinky for it.
I think you would lose the design elements from it if you did
I
that.
think possibly you could do it in something that had cotton or linen in it, maybe.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Probably linen more than cotton, because that would hold the structure.
And what weight is it?
DK.
DK.
But there are over 200 projects in Ravelry now, and I think some of them have been done in different weights. I think
most
again,
of the shawl
a
you
shawl
can,
you
can't
can just do a few more repeats, can't you? Because it's I think it's an irregular triangle. This one kind of isosceles triangle shape, so you could just do a few more repeats of the core pattern to make it a bit wider if you're using a lighter weight yarn.
Yeah.
What about you, Nicky?
I am very drawn to this Woven Warmth by Nancy Merchant. I'm just very intrigued by the construction.
First time I've seen it. She's just shown me a picture, and again I will pop pictures up, so don't worry, and links.
Yeah, this designer's been having a bit of an exploration of this technique for over a couple of patterns. There's another one that's just come out that is, I would say, it's sort of like a further evolution of the idea. It's the open weave wrap, and
I almost prefer that one.
the funny thing is, I'm not especially drawn to the finished object.
No, I'm not.
I'm just very
Yeah, it's
drawn
the
to the
the process.
yeah,
I think that's definitely, it's an intriguing technique, isn't it?
Yeah, I almost want to just buy the pattern just to read it like an article
it's
or something.
almost like I think some of Stephen West's shorts, you look at them and kind of go, that's extraordinary, how did he do it? And kind of, but then I kind of think, would I wear it if I made it?
I
You
always
feel like you'd have to because you do such a lot of effort.
I always think that, and then quite often people come in the shop and you
And they're
immediately,
stunning.
I think there was a lady in
There
on
was,
Saturday when we were teaching, and you immediately think, oh, that's a Stephen West shawl, because you can see it is, and then I think, God, that looks amazing. So I'm always the same. I'm like, I'm not sure that's for me, but when I actually see
them in,
I've never done one. I have to say, I've never done one of his shawls.
I've got a few of his patterns, but I've yet to do them.
Yeah, and I know his instructions are always brilliant.
They're fantastic.
Yeah,
you know.
I've watched the construction videos, but I've not done that, and I'd never do a mystery knit along.
No,
Doesn't suit me.
It wouldn't appeal to me.
I've signed up for twice now for mystery knit alongs, and both times I kind of went, well, I'm not sure that I want to knit it, and I kind of waited until it was part of the way through, and then kind of went, nah, not for me.
Yeah, and that, I think I've signed up for one once, not a Stephen West one, it was another one, and yeah, I got into the second clue and I thought, I don't even like this, so why am I persevering with
I
it?
think I need to know what it's going to be. I don't think the whole mystery thing suits.
I think it suits certain people.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm not
like
one
to
of
have
them.
an idea where I'm going and how it's going to.
So
if the
you
colours
won't do
don't
a
work.
mystery one.
No. No, I like to just control every aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that shawl. Have you got any other shawls that you're thinking of?
I haven't really. No,
No.
I've
no
got a
other shawls.
couple.
Have you got more?
I've got one that I'm about to do myself, which is the Sylvatica shawl, which came out in Pom Pom magazine last summer.
And the designer?
The designer, you ask me difficult questions. The designer is Anna Hoosman. And it's intarsia, garter stitch and intarsia. And again, I think there's a theme coming from me at the moment. Irregular colour work.
There's probably a psychologist would probably say something about it. The fact that you want all of these abstract types.
Yeah, so again, it's random pattern, and it's a play between I think the original yarn is a paper cord yarn, so something that actually has quite a lot of structure but is still quite flowy. With mohair, so you've got a contrast between something that gives a certain rigidity and then this airiness, which I think is quite a interesting juxtaposition of texture, which appeals to me.
I did an online class with her, and she cuts out little bits of paper and sort of like coloured paper, and then arranges them and overlays them and things to get the shape.
Yeah, I can see that would work. Because I was thinking, because I'm not going to use the same colours, I think I'm going to have to sketch it out and play around with colour to know what you're going to do, where. And then I think this is extraordinary as well.
Oh gosh, that looks amazing.
Genesis by Nathan Taylor. So he's well known for experimenting with double knit and brioche and different ways of doing things. He's quite a knitting nerd, so he's always looking at new ways of doing something.
A bit like Stephen West then.
Yes, I think so. So this is a huge double knitted shawl, and it's he's instructing you on.
And what's it called?
Genesis.
Genesis.
And I think it's taking you through this new single pass method that he's been working on to make things potentially a little bit faster and doing double knit projects. And he's just done worked out single pass brioche method as well. That's the other thing, and brioche lace method as well. So I think his patterns are always very well thought out, and he loves that fully reversible thing. So
that looks quite a big shawl.
It's huge. It's man sized, and he's tall.
Do you like big shawls, Nicky?
No. Well, I probably. I mean, I don't dislike big shawls, but I do just like to have a little thing to throw around my neck.
I think you could end this one early, because it looks to me like
it looks massive.
It's the pattern is repeated, so you could definitely finish it at any junction of those kind of fees.
I'm a shawl person and I love shawls, but I don't like thick shawls.
Yeah, that's the only thing that put me
probably
off.
to do with my age, but I find them like this. If they're too, I gravitate now towards sort of fingering weight type shawls, which are quite light around your neck and not massive.
And I prefer knitting on the whole and fingering to double knit as well.
I've looked at the Sylph. Is it the Sylph, which is a brand new one by Natasha Hornby? Have you seen that one that came out in the last couple of days?
Yeah.
That's so lovely. But that's a double knit, and I'm thinking actually I might have a go at that, but knit it in a fingering way and just adapt it a little bit. But it's sort of like a leaf pattern. It's just simple in one colour, but I just love it. It looks amazing. And then I went down the whole rabbit hole last night. I was looking on Ravelry, and I know it was on Instagram, and somebody's shawl came up on Instagram. I thought, oh, that's lovely. And then you know what you do, you sort of
Yeah.
go through, click through, and then you go through and this designer, and she's called Lisa Hannes, Hannes. She has got amazing shawls, lots of mosaic shawls, which I love.
Yeah,
I do love
nice.
mosaic knitting.
Yeah.
So there was lots of shawls there that you could use either one skein or 2 different colour skeins, or even 3, and they're like whole skeins, which is quite a nice project, isn't it?
And I think that's really good, because quite often you'll fall in love with a skein or a couple of skeins where you go to a wool yarn festival and you'll pick up these random skeins because you just love them. And then they sit there and you pet them every now and then, but they never get made into anything.
No. And I've got lots. I've got lots of pets.
I've just realised I did have another shawl.
Oh, you did? Yes, you had. Oh God, and that one's gorgeous as well.
Yes, by Alyssum.
And it's called the Chrysanthema.
Yes, she's got a lot of lovely shawl patterns.
Yeah, no, that's another Ravelry rabbit hole I'm going down later.
Yes.
I've got another one too. Damascena by Paola Albergamo.
Oh my goodness me.
Got short rowing in it.
It's got short rows. It's a semicircular shape. So it's short rows. It's snips and I think just general stranded or mosaic. So again, there are lots of techniques there, and I think again that would suit. How many? Just seeing how many skeins it takes. It says it's sock weight yarn, and you're going to need 3 skeins in total, 2 skeins of the background colour and 1 skein of the contrast colour.
It's lovely. It's lovely.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know how well it would flow.
It reminds me of patterns by, is it Woolly Wormhead?
Yes, very similar.
Who does the hats and things.
Yeah.
Your shawl that you were showing us just there, is that?
Oh, that's lovely.
That's got 2 different colours in it as well.
Yes, yeah. It's quite subtle, but I think it would be nice
in the way in the colours they printed it in.
Just nice for, as you were saying, sort of showing off a precious yarn, something that, so you could, if you had something that was really special, you could just use that for the feather and fan. Yeah, it's quite subdued, but I think she has nice taste, and things just seem to sort of.
It's just a twist on a very traditional idea, isn't it? That kind of garter ridge or whatever the main
it's not
body
brioche, is it?
is.
Because it's too spaced out.
No. I think it's just I think it is just, as you said, a garter ridge and then a feather and fan.
Yeah.
Bottom.
It's unusual. It's
I think that's what I liked about this Lisa Hannes ones. I think there were the mosaic ones, which were amazing, and then there were others that were just quite simple but showcase the yarn. You think, particularly with variegated yarns and speckled yarns, you don't want too much pattern, do you? Because you just lose it. You put in a lot of effort and you lose it. I prefer plainer yarns for.
Yes, you're kind of wasting both. You can land up. The pattern itself can be obscured, and the yarn itself lands up looking muddy and messy as well. So that matching of the right yarn with the right pattern.
So Nicky's also got a crochet pattern
I do.
got here.
Well, this has been on my to-do list for a long time. The Aegyoknit sweater vest. It's actually a free pattern by Bethany Lynn, and yes, and it's just
granny squares.
Yeah, granny squares made
granny
up into a vest top. But I think
I've
go wrong.
seen that here in the shop. I don't know whether you were in the shop at the time, Fran, but a lady came in wearing that, and she said her mum had made it for her.
That's
and
really
everybody was, I think it must have been a Stitches
yes,
meetup
I do
day.
remember that.
Because everybody was like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Put it this way, I don't crochet. I would learn how to crochet to make that.
I could teach you how to crochet. It's easy.
It is
easy.
Yeah.
I mean, I did learn when I was a child. It's just I've never gone back to.
And they're simple granny squares.
Yes.
So
I think it's the subtle colours that make it, don't it?
Something a lot of people, I'm not sure if this is in the original pattern, but something a lot of people have done, oh no, it is in the original, is they've knit the rib, because crochet rib it doesn't really hold its spring back in quite the same way.
I would knit the rib.
Yeah. So
so you'd join all the squares together and then knit the
just pick up stitches. And So we could get you doing that.
Yeah.
In fact, Nusha's been practicing granny squares
Ooh.
because we're going to do a granny square workshop. So that could be something that
Yeah.
people
Good.
could look
Yeah.
at doing.
Yes, and I think you could bang that
So
out.
it's probably 9 granny squares on the front and 9 on the back.
And then one either side.
And
yeah.
one either
Oh,
side.
and the shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would whip up really
Yes.
quickly.
I think the only problem is that the only adjustment in size is going to be gauge, unless you want to put more squares in.
Yeah, I was going to
Unless
say
want to-
you could, or you
Yeah.
could make the granny squares
Put
another row
yeah,
round
yeah.
each one, couldn't you? If
Yeah.
you were
Yeah.
a larger size.
Yeah.
And what weight yarn is that done in?
I think that's done in worsted. I was thinking I'd probably do it in DK just
Yeah.
because of availability.
Yeah.
And also it makes it quite, crochet comes up
yeah,
chunkier,
yeah,
doesn't
it does, doesn't
than,
it?
than
Yeah.
knitting.
It's
So
a-
that would be quite
I'd be
stiff, wouldn't
tempted.
it? And
Actually, that's going on my to-do.
No,
I haven't done.
yeah.
I was trying to find something crochet, sort of focused, and that would be really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's
Rather than blankets or because.
Oh yeah. No, that's going to be very wearable. Pop into the wardrobe. Yeah, no problem.
So we've sort of covered shawls and sweaters. What about any sort of accessories or sort of homeware or anything like that? Anything sort of floating your boat at the moment?
Well, funnily enough, I have another crochet
right.
pattern. There's quite a few of them around. This one's called Granny Square Detachable Collar.
Or granny squares?
But yes, I would quite like to have a crochet collar
That's quite
to
sweet,
wear over.
isn't it?
There's
That would
very
be nice
boho.
on a
oversized dress,
yeah.
for example.
Yeah,
Yes.
or even just a really plain sweater. It
Yeah.
would just elevate it, wouldn't it? And again, I could see Noosh actually.
Yeah, and that would be like a great beginner product because I think
That is
I
really
think
good.
it's just 6
Oh,
squares.
you're going to send me all the details
I am,
anyway. So
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
that would be quite a good one
Yeah.
to do. As a, I'll show Noosh that when I see her
Yeah.
on Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah, so that would be nice. Right, homeware or accessories, anything else? You've got a vest as well.
I've
then.
got vests. Yeah, I'm slightly obsessed by vest patterns at the moment. But what I've found is nearly all
You've got one on, haven't
I've
you?
got one on, which is the Lulu's Slipover by Petite Knits. And that knits up, it's 2 yarns held together, so it's a DK and a silk mohair, which works out to like a worsted weight. But what I'd like to find is a pattern that's for finger weight or lighter, because I think this type of style of things is useful when in the UK, spring, summer, you're wearing a t-shirt but it's just a little bit too cold, so the ability to throw something over the top. But nearly all of the patterns are for much heavier, you know, they're DK worsted Aran weight, but I
think that's probably on most people's to-do list,
Yeah.
that pullover.
but I found a couple of Japanese patterns that are lighter. One is Olive. Oh no, this is a Danish designer, Pernille Larsen, and it's called Olive's Vest, and that is
So that is knitting for Olive,
Yeah, that's
isn't it?
knitting for Olive. Yeah.
so that's again typical of a Danish designer holding 2 yarns together, one of those being mohair. So it's 2 lace weights to make a fingering weight.
Okay.
So you could definitely knit
Just
that
knit
up in a
a
fingering
fingering
weight,
weight, yeah.
which I think it would be quite a useful
nice
sweater.
in one of the telling yarns resolute.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it? Yeah. And then the Japanese one, I'm afraid I can't read it because it's in Japanese, and the whole of the pattern is in Japanese,
Oh,
so I
good.
probably won't be making that one. But it's by Mariko Oka.
Quite often, though, they go back and have them translated
Yeah.
if they're popular,
They
don't they?
do, yeah.
Because quite often I get a pop-up saying, your
Yeah.
pattern that you've now
Ah.
purchased
At the
is now
moment, there are
done in-"
nobody's made it, so I think that might be just something to look at, take inspiration from, but not to actually attempt. Although again, Google Translate would probably, because again, Japanese patterns are nearly all charted, I think, and are terribly sparse in their instructions. So I think you could probably get through it.
I think
fairly
I
well.
might have a book called Translating Japanese Patterns.
Oh, there is one.
Yes,
I know. Yeah.
yes. Yeah, Japanese for knitters.
Japanese
I would
finesse.
just pass it by. I'd be like, it would be put in the too
Because
difficult box for me.
quite often they're written, or quite often there's a sort of a pictorial form, and it tells you the number of stitches sort of at the bottom, then up the side, and then
Yeah, again, I think it is. They kind of sketch it out as a schematic more than anything.
Yeah.
So
Right, okay.
rather than as a full length written pattern.
And the numbers on those are usually
Yes.
English numbers. So,
Yeah.
So I can see you're clutching the emotional support chicken here.
I can definitely see an emotional support chicken in my future. I loved it when it first came out, and now the pressure is just growing. They're everywhere.
So what's the hype? I've seen a lot about it. What's the hype about it?
I don't know. I just think it's
It's by Annette Corsino.
Yep. Yes,
I think it's just funny, isn't
yes,
it?
I think that's it. Yes, and it's sort of a nice, comforting size. You can just pop under your arm and carry around.
Get a dog.
You don't have to take this one for a walk. Though.
Yeah,
That's true enough.
I don't know. I just think it's sort of amusing, and
I've seen so much about that on Instagram.
yeah.
And I think it's just one of those, you could use all kinds of scraps, couldn't
Yeah,
you? So it'd
yeah.
be good for
It's
using
double
up
knit, isn't
scraps.
it? Am I right in thinking it's double knit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, although I've seen them made up with 2 strands of 4-ply held together. I think, like you said, you could just use anything really.
Oh,
And I saw someone who'd made one out of 2 strands of double knit held together, and it's like this big.
Attack chicken.
Yeah.
Out of Chicken Run, one of those the animation Chicken Run.
Yeah.
And it's in fact I've just finished knitting. I've probably got it here somewhere. Just a classic ribbed beanie hat from Pearl Soho, but I put 2 strands of 4-ply together because God, it was hard work in the end. Because it was. My hands started to ache because it was all rib, but it was because of the 2 strand rather than a double knit. I think it's made it. It's going to be heck of a warm.
Yeah.
It's sort of like really sort of chunky feel to it.
Yeah, I've just made a watch cap from my husband, and that was quite hard work. 1 by 1 rib on
somebody else
on 2 mil needles. It was kind of like,
I'll pick up and do another half, and I think that's what I did with that hat. I didn't do it quickly. I just okay, I'm just going to do half an hour, or if I'm in a meeting, Zoom Teams meeting in my other life of work, and I've not got to facilitate anything. I just sit and do a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Anything sort of home related to you? I think you've got another sweater there.
I have got another sweater, but I don't need to say anything about
But I
it.
recognise that one because I did look at that one when I looked at doing the William sweater.
Yeah, I think it's the Busan sweater by
Big cable down the front.
Yeah, big slouchy soft cable by Aegyoknit. I think she might be another Danish designer.
I think I've got the pattern actually.
And it's a slightly deconstructed cable.
Yeah, I did look at that when I looked at the William.
But I think it'd be terribly warm. That's why I keep looking at it.
That's
and kind of
one
going,
to think about when we're coming up for autumn again.
Because it's saying here, again, two yarns held together, one of which obviously is going to be a mohair, and it's working out as an Aran weight. So that's a 1, and it's a polar neck jumper, so that is really warm.
Yeah, even English summers that would be too.
Yeah.
In terms of me, the other thing that I'm looking at is knitting some toys, and I don't know why. I've just got this,
There are some lovely toys.
Yeah, I just saw Dot and Pebbles. She just released this new piglet, and I think that's what got me going.
Boom, saw it, bought it.
You've done the frog and everything, haven't you? Anyway, so I was like, oh, I really fancy having a go at knitting that. And actually, she's based here, isn't she?
She is. Just
Cornish.
In Penzance. We must get in contact with her and see if she'll come and do something for us. Come and give us a talk. And then there's the Moosh and Friends book, which is those lovely knitted animals with all the clothes. What is it about? You're an adult and you knit.
I think they're just charming, aren't they? I mean, Whistlebear brought out a lovely one that's a hare using their yarns, and there's just something intrinsically charming about it.
So I've got the yarn. I've got pink pink 4-ply, ready to go.
Ready to go.
So there will be a pig in my life soon.
Emotional support pig.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think they're
Yeah.
quite
They're tiny.
tiny, aren't they?
I
How
was
big's the frog?
Oh, yeah, and you sort of, quite
Was
Yeah.
it easy to knit? Because it looks fiddly. The DP ends, was it?
Yeah, I just use short DP ends. You just knit backwards and forwards. No, not. I mean, a little bit fiddly, but not hard. I think the hardest thing, like the first one, because once I've made one, I like to repeat. But the first one, you go, oh, what does this mean? But then once you've got it, then you're like, oh, now I'm flying.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna.
She's very clever. Some of her designs are they're very realistic, some of them.
And some of the animations that people have made using
they're extraordinary, aren't they?
They are amazing. You know, I just watch them as a
stop
little
motion
bit.
Stuff, but it's
So you two have bought bits in that you're actually knitting. Mine will be separate to this, but you've got to show us what you're knitting on at the moment.
Well, this is my swatch that I'm playing around with ideas for the Sylvatica shawl.
Is that what it's yeah.
So it's a black main colour, black charcoal. And then we've got the different colours of mohair that I've got already. So I've just been playing around with ideas there. So that's one thing.
What yarn have you used?
I've used...
Is that something in your stash, did you say?
It's deep stash yarn for the charcoal. It's actually from, I can't remember now, Colourmark maybe. And then so some of it's Kremke, some of it's Knitting for Olive, that's a Korea Deluxe. So there's a real mix of mohairs there.
Yeah, no, I don't know. You might see it better if I hold it right up. Yeah.
So just the
Interesting colours.
So I'm just swatching to try and work out colours and yarns. Then again, we're back to one by one. So this is going to make a Gatan Balaclava cowl thing for my niece who wants something to wear underneath her cycling helmet.
Yes, you mentioned that. Yes.
So this is quite a close-fitting hood cowl. It's not really a balaclava helmet because it doesn't come over the nose. It just frames the face.
Well.
Yeah. Knitting in black, 1x1 rib, and then I'm almost at the end of that, and then it will be a garter rib up to make the hood shape, and then the shaping to make a round back, so it's not a pixie back on it. It's quite a nice rounded shape at the back.
Yeah, I think I've seen it anyway.
And then it's got a rib. After you go back and do a rib, so it should be quite snug around her ears and face. By the time I finish it, of course, the winter will be over, but never mind. And then it's an old pattern. It's Kate Davis. It is going to be a Ducot, which I believe means dovecot in Gaelic. And it's using a discontinued yarn that I got from here, which is a Knoll mohair tweed. But I think it's a DK pattern,
so you could use any
DK. In fact, it would be lovely in croft.
Yeah, no,
it would make a really nice. It's a very simple pattern. It's a raglan sleeve, and then the only thing it's semi-crop, so it lands up about hip height, but it's got very pretty deep cuffs where there's a slightly unusual rib pattern, which is what I liked about it. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Lovely colour green.
Got enough.
Like a spring green.
Yeah.
What about you, Nicky?
Well, I'm a very monogamous knitter. I just tend to work on one thing and then that's it. I am working on a...
That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
It's the Alpine Bloom sweater.
Oh, right, yeah.
I love
I haven't
colour
seen
work
that
done with
yet,
variegated yarn.
Yeah.
It is nice, isn't it?
It
I like
is really nice.
That is 2 telling yarns.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because it just gives that softness to
Yeah.
it, but also it makes it almost look like you're using 3 colours or whatever.
Yeah.
It
isn't
makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
And are you enjoying it?
I am loving it.
Oh, a little bit of ladder back, Jack.
Yes, yes, and yeah.
Hold it right up, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. But yes, no, it's very
So what
satisfying.
technique is this?
Ladderback jacquard. So when you have a very long float, you bring both yarns to the front, purl a stitch, and then take both back, and it sort of it pushes it to the back, and you end up with a.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I've not learnt that technique, so you're going to have to teach me
yeah.
that one.
I did that on the
Croquet,
game of croquet.
game of croquet
Yeah.
sweater.
Yes, the only thing was that the pattern is a sports weight, and that is a 4-ply. So I've done a little bit of rejigging. Yes,
Okay.
rejigging.
So
But
you're knitting a smaller size, but then you've worked out the length.
I'm knitting a bigger size.
Bigger
Bigger
size,
size.
Yeah.
sorry.
Yes, and then I'm not really going to worry about the length because it's for me. I can
Yeah.
try it on as I go.
Yeah,
So I will
top,
just add.
top down, that's
Yeah.
the beauty, isn't it?
The other thing I've done is, you know how much I love a provisional cast on.
You
So
do.
I haven't. I haven't done the neckline. I've just done a bit of waste yarn and then picked up the stitches, and I'm going to come back at the end and do
Decide what you're going to
Yeah. Haven't decided which version I'm doing, so that leaves me the option open for that. But also, I've noticed some of the patterns, the neckline on the long sleeve jumper version, it almost stands up like a little sort of turtleneck, a little sort of, it just stands up like that, and I don't really want that. I want it to lay flat, so I thought
maybe a little rolled.
Yeah, so I think by doing this, I'm leaving myself the option to
put on whatever neck you feel
Yeah.
suits the sweater.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, having done it and fingering, it'll sit differently anyway, won't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
So you won't really know until you've
Yeah.
got at least sleeves
Yeah.
on, will you?
So at least if I come back at the end and add it,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't work out for whatever reason, I can just undo it, and it's not
yeah,
the whole
it's not a
jumper.
biggie, is it?
Yeah.
We know by the next time we see Nicky, that'll be done.
It's funny because then I'd started this. Well, I'd already got the yarn, and then I read your article saying peach and dark red are the hot colours.
Colours of 2024,
Yeah.
the Pantone colour, peach
Yeah.
fuzz,
Yeah.
and dark red.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so bang on trend.
And
Bang on
lilac.
to it. That's what you like to hear. Anyway, thank you for joining me
Sorry.
today. It's been really great talking about patterns. I hope you've enjoyed it too. We will be doing this as a regular monthly feature, we think, but we'll be talking about what patterns have come out in the last month, doing a little pattern review and just talking about what our thoughts are about it and the construction and things. But today we thought we'd just give you a roundup of what's in our Ravelry, our extensive Ravelry bundles. And this is just a minuscule snapshot, and I hope you found it interesting. So thanks, Nicky. Thanks, Fran. For
It's
joining
been fun.
me.
I've gone away with new ideas.
Yeah, no, I'm going to crochet.
I'm going to learn.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.